For Su Beijan, this day should have been an ordinary day at work. He habitually referred to playing a certain role in a nightmare as Shang Gong. The nightmare is the copy that the group of taskers said. I don't know when, humans suddenly became players in the game Escape from the Sky. But this is a real escape game where players can feel pain and death. Although everything is not over after death, the player will resurrect and the nightmare will start again, until, either escapes or falls into the nightmare of eternal collapse and endless loop. Because of this, they don't like the name player more and more, and instead call themselves the tasker. The venue where they perform the task is these copies of the game called Nightmare. In the game setting, a nightmare is a real nightmare. The main scene of this game is a towering narrow building called the Narrow Building. The residents in the Narrow Building are the masters of those nightmares. The vast majority of the residents of the Narrow Buildings are muddled and unconscious, and have great hostility and resistance to the taskers. It seems that for them, the task force is more like a group of outsiders breaking into a narrow building. These outsiders were active in the narrow buildings during the day, listening to the clues of the nightmare from the residents, and at night, they sneaked out of the residents' houses to challenge the residents' nightmares. It sounds like the residents' hostility to outsiders is justified. But what the taskers didn't know was that the residents of the narrow building were actually humans struggling in nightmares. They play various roles in nightmares and narrow buildings. Without revealing that they are playing, they secretly give clues about nightmares to outsiders and promote the development of nightmares. This is their task. Many residents are very enterprising, but Su Beijan is not included. The identity of Su Beijan in the narrow building is the owner of a bookstore, and in nightmares, he often plays such an identity, but in nightmares, he is basically a useless group performance. The group performers occasionally need to provide some clues and say a few words to the taskers in the nightmare, but at most that is the case. Su Beijan has been an unidentified dead body lying on the ground many times. Following the cycle of nightmares, Su Beijan, who was lying down, felt that he was really getting cold. When I started working on this day, things were fine. He played in his true colors and was the owner of a bookstore. And he has entered this nightmare many times to play. The owner of the nightmare is the owner of the doll shop next door to his bookstore. The shop owner is very ambitious, and always takes the initiative to let the taskers enter his nightmare, giving clues out and in the dark, hoping that they can completely solve the nightmare. Outsiders who completely solve a nightmare can go to the higher floors of the narrow building, and the owner of the nightmare secretly pushes the outsiders to solve the nightmare completely, and they can also go to the higher floors. However, he has fought and defeated and fought. But one advantage is that every time the doll shop owner starts a nightmare, Su Beijan can also paddle into his nightmare. Like this time. Su Bei poured himself a glass of boiled water slowly. The materials in the narrow building were not very rich, so it was the same in the nightmare, and then yawned. He has heavy dark circles on his face and he seems to be very sleepy. In the eyes of outsiders, the bookstore owner in this narrow building is indeed a monster who can't sleep. There are many outsiders who want to enter his nightmare, but no matter if it is talking with him during the day or digging his head outside his bookstore at night, no one has ever succeeded in obtaining little useful information. Instead, it spread the news that Su Bei was not going to sleep at all. Since then, most utilitarian outsiders have ignored this strange bookstore owner. Of course, some are still entangled. Su Beijan felt that this was a very troublesome thing, but he didn't know how to use an outspoken and polite way to let the outsiders get out of trouble, so the matter was deadlocked. Playing in a nightmare has actually become a relatively easy thing. No matter how many days they spent in the nightmare, it was only one night after returning to the narrow building. As a group performer who always paddles on the edge and has a knack for fishing, Su Beijan feels more at ease. He stretched out his hand happily, wanting to drink a sip of boiled water. The next second, his eyes flickered, he stretched out his hand and grabbed it, stunned. The scene of the bookstore in front of him remained unchanged, but the boiled water he poured out was gone. What's up? Did this nightmare restart like this? Is this group of outsiders such a dish? His plain water hasn't been drunk yet. For the game anchor OLE, this day is undoubtedly a day to test his European spirit. As a new anchor, he promised the audience to randomly select a game from a huge game library for live broadcast. When the name of the game appeared in front of his eyes, he shook his heart. Escape from the Sky. This is very malicious no matter how you look at it. OULI is undoubtedly a timid, never dare to challenge any horror and thriller game anchor. But the audience liked it very much, especially the scene where the anchor was scared by the horror game and screamed, or even directly cried. Therefore, in OL's live broadcast room, the few viewers all urged OLE to keep their promises, not to persuade them. OLE could only agree and was ready to bite the bullet. However, before the real live broadcast, he plans to play it privately first, and be fully psychologically prepared. However, as soon as he logged into the game, he felt that he was about to suffocate. The character he is controlling is standing in a cramped small room. According to the introduction he saw when he logged into the game, this should be a doll shop. However, this dark, damp, and dilapidated small storefront does not at all look like a warm and childish doll shop. The dimly lit, gloomy and small shop was full of various cabinets and boxes, swayingly stacked up to the ceiling, and the gaps in the corners were filled with dirty dolls. The number is so large that it can make people guilty of intensive phobia. There were other people standing around OLE, but he didn't care. He stared at the dolls, who were also staring at him. The dolls really look like living people. The dark and godless eyes look straight at you like this. If the material of the eyeballs is better, there may be transparent reflections, for example, your figure is reflected on it, just like real eyes. The other people seemed to be talking about something, and OLE looked at this weird doll shop nervously. The excessive panic made him never think of greeting the rest of the people present. Suddenly, his eyes were fixed on a certain doll. That is a doll in the glass showcase. This street-facing doll shop has window display cabinets. Perhaps it used to be beautiful, but now it is full of dust and cobwebs. In one of the windows, the scene was set up as an exquisite princess room. Although the fabric has turned yellow or even moldy, you can still imagine the beauty of the past. There, a doll was staring at OLE. She was sitting on the edge of the bed. She was about 50 centimeters tall and her hair was neatly combed. She was wearing a red dress, like a beautiful and delicate girl, even tilting her head innocently. OLE stared at her obsessively. He obviously wanted to move his body, but because of fear and an unexplained tension, he stared at the girl doll, and he didn't even dare to blink his eyes. He thought anxiously, look away quickly. Why look at that doll? That doll, so weird, tattered, what's so good about it? But the doll blinked suddenly. That stared at him like that, and then, mischievously, blinked. OLE. He just wanted to scream when someone patted him on the shoulder from behind. Hey you! OLE shook his whole body, there was a vague sound in his throat, and then fell back as soon as his body softened. The character he used immediately lost his breath, because he was frightened, so when the game device detected that his nervous fluctuations were too severe, for safety reasons, he was forcibly disconnected from the game. And this incident, of course, also scared the person who patted him on the shoulder. Or the human tasker. The tasker looked at his hand suspiciously and thought to himself, is he so scary? Scared people to death? But it was too late to think too much. Once someone dies in the nightmare will restart in a short time. At least 3 seconds, the scene in front of them changed with a brush, and once again returned to the original state. And OLE, who left the game, was also a little bit angry at this time. Although he is cooking, he doesn't think he is cooking. How could it be that just because the doll blinked at him, and a person patted him on the shoulder, it was scared to retreat? What a shame! So after a moment of fright, he logged in again in anger, then immediately turned around, closed his eyes and ran out. Can't afford to provoke him yet, can't hide. The moment Ole stepped on the threshold of the doll shop, he suddenly heard someone calling him angrily behind him. He almost subconsciously turned his head and glanced, and then he saw a lot of dolls in the doll shop, all stood up, and then stepped away from the furry or plastic short legs, just like this, chasing him. In an instant, soul of Oli was scared off, yelling, screaming and rushing out of the doll shop without listening to the anxious and violent screams of other taskers behind him. He panicked, and instinctively fled to the nearest house for refuge. It was a bookstore, the door was ajar, so Ole pushed the door and ran in, saying hurriedly, "Outside, outside there is." His voice suddenly stuck. Inside the door, sat a man with fair skin and heavy dark circles. His face is very handsome, his dark brown hair is a little messy. Behind him is a deep and gloomy storefront, with mysterious and shabby books crammed in the bookshelf. When the man heard the movement and raised his head, he looked straight at the people, his eyes were hollow, like a demon walking out of hell, because Ole interrupted his solitary leisure time, so he stared at OU silently. Lie. The pale skin, the red lips, the handsome facial features that are not like a real person, and the dark pupils. As if they gradually overlapped with the eyes of the dolls who had just scared him out of their bodies. Ole. All turned his eyes and fainted directly his figure disappeared. He was once again scared to leave the game directly. But after he left, a certain area on the ground flashed suddenly, and a distorted area similar to a mosaic appeared. A few seconds later, the nightmare restarted again, and the distorted ground appeared before, but there was an extra light spot inexplicably. Su Beijan, who was sitting alone in the bookstore, had a blank expression, blinked and looked at this scene a little dazedly. What just happened? He looked at the light spot on the ground. What is this again? It is detected that you have not registered a host account. Do you automatically register and open the live broadcast room? Whether Su Beijan subconsciously sat up straight and looked at the light screen unfolding in front of him in surprise. The nightmare just restarted, he just subconsciously touched the light spot left by the strange and suddenly disappeared person, and as a result, he unfolded in front of him. The picture in the live broadcast room? Wait, the live room? So that person just now is an anchor from a world outside the game? And this live room, is there a bug? Why is it connected to Su Beijan's body? Countless thoughts flashed through Su Beijan's mind in the blink of an eye, and a burst of absurdity rose in his heart. He almost instinctively looked out of the storefront, leaving the door ajar, looking at the nightmare. He knows that Escape from the Sky is a game, yes, everyone knows it. Whether it is the residents of narrow buildings or those outsiders, they all know that this is a game. The world of the narrow building, the world of the game Escape from the Sky, except for the solitary building that stands on the ground, is the endless grey fog that obscures the sky outside the narrow building. Human beings don't know why they are here, or why they are undergoing life and death challenges and trials here. They don't know what the outside world has become, even though they are so eager to go to a higher floor, hoping that after reaching the highest floor of the narrow building, it means escaping to heaven. In front of Su Beijan, there was a live broadcast room that didn't know whether it was true or not, but it should indeed be able to connect to the outside world. That is the world outside of the narrow building that human beings have never known. Therefore, Su Beijan only hesitated for a moment, and then in his consciousness, he chose yes. He could faintly hear a clear and sweet ding, after which the light screen changed greatly. On this static light screen, there are some circles and short words pointing to the circles. It should be a tutorial for beginners, explaining to Su Beijan how to use this live broadcast system. This light screen has a translucent ice blue as the base, and the whole is divided into left and right blocks. On the left is a huge live screen, now showing a freeze frame, focusing on his bookstore. On the right is the number of viewers, gift list, toolbar, anchor data, etc. One of the options immediately attracted Su Beijan's attention. That is an option called Switch Picture Source. The instruction text next to it says that in some games that support this option, the anchor can switch the viewing angle and screen of the live broadcast, so that the live broadcast is not limited to the host alone, but can be switched to other game players and scenes. Or even switch to the perspective of God, so as to observe the direction of other players and the whole game. This is like a viewing angle. The game Escape from the Sky is suitable for this function. Su Baijin clicked on this function, and several options popped up, corresponding to different scenes and taskers in this nightmare. He took a cursory look and found that there were only nightmare scenes, including bookstore, doll shop on the first floor, doll shop on the second floor, and deserted streets. The names of different scenes were followed by the names of different people, indicating the location of each other. Information. For example, under the two words bookstore, indented one space, the word Su Baijin to encounter Ringo in a nightmare, there are generally two outcomes. Either Ringo went violently, or the other taskers trembled and tried not to provoke the boss and try to clear the level by themselves. So to say that Ringo's strength value appears in survival games like Escape from the Sky, it's very outrageous. Moreover, Ringo seemed to have been on the bottom of the narrow building for a long time, but he had never seen him go to higher floors. Someone plucked up the courage to ask, but Ringo replied, "Not interested." Is it really uninterested, or can't go at all? Someone secretly speculated that Ringo might be useless except for his strength and that face. He can live well in the nightmare at the bottom, but he can't completely solve any nightmare. However, given Ringo's strong personal strength, no one dared to say more in front of him. In a nightmare, he still dared not provoke him. However, this time the situation seems to have changed a bit. Except for Ringo, there were 3 taskers who were still in the doll shop at this time. 2 of them knew each other, and the other was alone. It was this lone traveler who had some conflicts with the other 2 people, which caused them to be unable to reach an agreement now. In fact, they all know the nightmare of the doll shop. Although no one has cleared the level, after several challenges, they all know the logic of this nightmare. All the taskers will appear on the first floor of the doll shop. Within a short time, the dolls in the shop will be activated, and then they will start chasing and killing them. As the nightmare restarts, the dolls will become more and more crazy, and escape becomes more and more difficult. Now, they have started this nightmare for the 3rd time. And the 2 taskers are still quarreling. One of them was wearing glasses, the lone traveler, and argued for reason, since the previous questers have been evacuating and have not cleared the level, then we have to try other methods. And the other one is obviously a bargainer. You have to? Who are you? We have to listen to you. At this moment, there has been no movement. A girl with a long ponytail, a teammate of Gang Jing, suddenly said, "Don't make a noise. Isn't there someone else before? Where did he go?" "I don't know." Kong Jing rolled his eyes, "That coward. The previous 2 restarts were because of him. What's up? Every time the nightmare restarts, we will return to the original position. Now he is not there, maybe it was a trick card. Retired from the nightmare. The trick card is one of the prop cards in Escape from the Sky. Rumor has it that there is a special trick card in the narrow building, which can be used to forcibly exit from the nightmare." This was the news from a higher floor, which caused a sensation at the time. Later, the taskers discovered that they were so excited, even if they had such a card, they had to get it. The main way for them to obtain item cards is through random rewards after clearing the nightmare. And random this thing, it's very face-seeking. The delivery rate of this trick card that can be forced back is high. I don't know the quality of the bar, but now it seems that apart from this legendary card, there is no other reason to explain the guy's disappearance. It doesn't matter, it disappears. The glasses man said nervously and a little impatiently, "I saw a doll moving." The few people immediately calmed down, moved 2 steps nervously, and divided into 3 different directions. Of course, they all avoided Ringo silently. After a few seconds, the dolls rushed up and squeezed in the direction of the bar. And Gang Jing didn't hesitate, turned around and ran, and directly led the doll army out of the doll shop. This is the experience gained by the taskers after entering this nightmare many times. The doll shop is small in size, and if you don't deal with it in the shop, it's mostly a trapped animal. On the street outside, the dolls run slowly, so although there are a large number of them, it only takes a while for the taskers to get rid of the dolls. Damn! Why come after me? Kong Jing cursed angrily in his heart. He ran desperately, and because of his escape on the deserted streets, more dust was rolled up, almost drowning his figure. He was panting, choked with dust and coughed twice. He almost didn't catch his breath, but when he turned his head and saw the dolls still chasing him behind him, he couldn't help crying without tears, so he could only try harder to escape. The dolls' chase in the first stage lasts for 5 minutes. They only need to run to escape, and the target is completely random. This is a well-known thing. By the way, OLE doesn't know. In short, all the 4 human taskers present know about it. Therefore, when Kong Jing found out that he had been selected, he could only curse secretly, and then started racing with groups of dolls on the street. He secretly hoped that the dolls would just go after Ringo. If you chase Ringo, there will be no loss on either side. What are you doing to chase him down? No matter how bad, isn't that man with glasses very arrogant? Isn't it possible to chase him down? The best of both worlds is great. In his cranky thoughts, the dolls were finally thrown off by him. At this time, he had already circled back to the door of the doll shop, squatting there and taking a breath. After a while, he finally slugged back to the shop. Half of the dolls in the doll shop were chased out, so the whole shop seemed a lot empty. But as soon as he stepped into the doll shop, the gloomy and humid breath suddenly stuck to him, making him quite uncomfortable. For the taskers, these nightmare scenes are just commonplace, and they are actually similar to the narrow buildings in reality. However, I don't know why, in nightmares, these scenes always look terrifying. Gang Jing quickly got rid of the coolness in his heart and strode in. When he walked in, Ma Yi's sister immediately asked, "Did you notice the outside?" Kong Jing did not answer. The man in glasses sneered first, and said sneer, just his brain, what can he pay attention to? With one sentence, he stared at Kong Jing with anger, raised his sleeves and said, "Hey, are you the legendary Kong Jing?" Sister Ma Yi rolled her eyes and said, "You have never finished." She looked at the man with glasses suspiciously again. "I didn't say, why did he do you?" The man with glasses stood aside with his arms folded, with an impatient look on his face. "I said, it's useless to keep repeating this doll chase. How many times have the taskers been chased before? Have they solved this nightmare? Isn't it the end of a normal ending if you have spent enough time?" Sister Ma Yi frowned slightly, and did not object to this sentence, but still insisted on her opinion, and continued to ask Kong Jing, "Have you noticed the situation outside?" Kong took a deep breath, ignored the man with glasses, and said, "I saw the bookstore that other people said before." As they were talking, Ringo, who had been silent for a while, suddenly moved. He didn't even look at these 3 people, and just walked out. The man with glasses almost subconsciously asked, "Where are you going?" Ringo didn't care, as if he hadn't heard it at all, and walked out of the doll shop. The man in glasses talked and could only shut up. He looked a little unwillingly at Ringo's back. This was the first time he had encountered Ringo in a nightmare, and he still had a hint of longing for his thighs, hoping that this powerful man could protect him. However, Kong Jing sneered and sneered, "You don't think that the big guy will care about you? No, no, no. There is no such simple and self-righteous fool in the world, right? Do you think, what does the world look like in his eyes? Of." The man with glasses glanced at him unwillingly, and asked reluctantly, "What does it look like?" "I heard that there are only 2 types of people in his eyes, those who can beat and those who can't. Like you, hurry up and recognize yourself." The spectacle man was silent for a moment, then suddenly sneered, and said harshly, "Even so, he can only stay on the bottom floor of the narrow building? He can't go to higher floors at all, there is a fart." These words made Ma Yi girl look at him strangely. But at this time, she had no time to think more. Because, a large number of dolls stood up and walked towards them. In the second wave of chasing and killing the dolls, the man with glasses was selected. Kong Jing let out a sneer without mercy, and the man with glasses could only curse in a low voice, turned his head and ran to the street outside. However, the first wave of chase lasted 5 minutes, and the second wave lasted 10 minutes. A 10-minute long distance running is difficult for ordinary humans to continue, not to mention that the living conditions in the narrow building are not good. These taskers cannot be said to be very strong. They can only slow down depending on the situation and let themselves be a little bit slowly, lest you get too tired. I man left, but Ma Yi's sister and Gang Jing did not stay in the doll shop. They left the doll shop and headed towards the bookstore next door with a clear goal. At this time, Su Beijing had already confronted Ringo in the bookstore for a while. Su Beijing and Ringo stared at them. Finally, Su Beijing said in frustration, "Ringo, I won't fight with you, please let me go." Ringo didn't react, just staring at Su Beijing in silence. Su Beijing felt a little hopeful, and immediately sat upright, full of hope. "So?" Ringo said, "Come to fight." Su Beijing. "Why? Can Ringo let him go?" Su Beijing sat behind the counter with no love, and his heart was ashamed. After knowing that the owner of the bookstore was a sleepless monster, the rest of the taskers gave up entering his nightmare, and no longer got close to him. But accidents always happen, and Ringo is one of those accidents. Ringo wasn't particularly interested in his nightmares, but according to his statement, Ringo said, "Everyone in the narrow building can't beat me, but I'm not sure if you can beat me. So, come and fight." Yes, that's it. In Ringo's world, human beings or all movable things are divided into two types. One kind he can beat, one kind he can't. The number of the latter is still 0. Su Beijing's position in Ringo's world seemed very embarrassing. Because Ringo, just as he said, he wasn't sure if he could beat Su Beijing. And Ringo hated everything that was vague and unclear. His world is always very simple. Playing well is the defeat of his men, just that you don't need to care about. Smile when you are happy, shake your face when you are impatient, and subdue all the living creatures of the nightmare. Do what you think of. So Su Beijing seemed out of place in his world. Su Bei didn't know why he felt this way for Ringo, and Ringo didn't know. But he knows a simple fact, not sure? Let's talk about it after that. So is Su Bei willing to fight him? Willing to shit? What is Ringo's force value? Where is Su Beijing? Su Beijing has a very clear understanding of himself. Look at his little arms and legs, look at his pale skin, look at his lack of sleep and thick dark circles. He knows he definitely couldn't beat Ringo. So why does Ringo think he might beat him? Su Beijing was almost mad. Su Beijing is actually a person who knows the current affairs very well. In short, he is very persuasive. But no matter what, Su Bei is all careless. Want him to fight with Ringo, a fighting lunatic? Then he Su Beijing, Wei. Wu. Do not. Can. Bend. Su Bei said blankly, don't fight. Ringo sighed regretfully. Although Ringo's strength is strong, he disdains to do things to intimidate others, so if Su Bei refuses to agree, then he can only give up regretfully, ask again next time. Since the two of them first met in the narrow building, such scenes have happened countless times. Su Beijing really has a headache. He knew very well that this time he was fooled again, but next time, Ringo will continue to invite him to fight. Su Beijing really avoided Ringo. When they fell silent, two people walked in at the door, a man and a woman, obviously the two taskers who came to the nightmare. They looked at Ringo standing there with a little surprise, and Ringo didn't bother to explain anything to them, and stood aside with his arms folded, with a calm face and said nothing. Su Beijun refused his invitation to fight again, and he was very upset. Although I am used to it, unhappy is unhappy. The newly appearing two dared not provoke him, so they turned to Su Beijun. Hello, boss. Sister Mai glanced at Su Bei cautiously and asked, we just passed the doll shop next door. What happened to that shop? Why is the boss gone and the store is in tatters? Su Bei dutifully read his lines. I heard the shop owner say that his daughter is missing, so the doll shop that was originally okay in business has no intention of running it anymore. Daughter is missing? Have you looked for it? Su Beijun replied, I don't know. Most of it didn't find it, otherwise he would not divorce his wife. After that, Sister Mai asked other questions, and Su Beijun shook his head to indicate that he didn't know. He really didn't know. The information that actors like them can obtain in the nightmare is, on the one hand, obtained according to their respective levels. For example, the owner of the nightmare must know the most and the most detailed, and Su Beijun also knows the two basic information of the doll shop owner said his daughter is missing and the doll shop owner and his wife are divorced. On the other hand, this is also determined according to the task person's investigation progress. In this nightmare, if the taskers can find other clues, such as exploring the second floor of the doll shop, and then returning to Su Beijun to ask, maybe Su Beijun can answer a little more questions. Because as the tasker explores the nightmare, he gets more information from the mastermind. Escape from the Sky is controlled by the game's main brain, which is a very mechanical artificial intelligence that does things according to procedures. The tasker must deal with it when he explores the nightmare, the actor plays a role, and so on. Sister Mai asked a few questions over and over, and when she realized that she couldn't ask anything, she knew that this was all the information Su Beijun could provide at this time, and she immediately fell into thinking. The bookstore fell silent for a while. Su Beijun was a little embarrassed. He was trying to find something to do, and suddenly felt as if he had forgotten something. Think about it carefully. It's the live broadcast room. He quickly glanced at the live broadcast room when he turned his attention to something else. The light screen of the live broadcast system disappeared automatically. And when he wanted to see, the light blue light screen appeared in front of him again. He found that the picture was still fixed on the first floor of the doll shop, and there were still a few barrage floating on the picture, which immediately attracted his attention. What is the anchor doing? Why don't you switch the picture source? What's the point of freezing in an empty doll shop? And this doll shop, to be honest, I feel a little hairy in my heart. Ha ha ha, you are such a coward, although I am so scared, ooh. I don't know when it will start. In his live broadcast room, there are already a few viewers watching. Su Beijun didn't have time to say anything to the audience. He looked at the three people standing in front of him, then looked at the list of functions in the live broadcast room, and found that there was a name in the scene of abandoned street, so he directly took the picture. Cut it to that person. At this time, I didn't know that there were already a few pairs of glasses men who were staring at him, panting, and finally dumped the dolls, and then went back to the doll shop alone. He was not surprised that there was no one in the doll shop. Just after the first wave of doll hunting, the ponytail girl asked Kong Jing if he had noticed the situation outside. When Kong Jing said that he had found the bookstore outside, the man in glasses knew that the two of them would definitely go to that bookstore. Looking for clues. This is the experience provided by previous taskers. Taskers who have been to this nightmare before will inform others of some less important nightmare clues. For example, the nightmare of this doll shop, everyone knows that the dolls will activate and hunt them down. They also know that in this nightmare, only one resident in a narrow building was found, the owner of the bookstore. He will provide some information and clues to the taskers. However, the clues provided by the bookstore owner did not seem to be of much help in the vague descriptions of those taskers who had experienced this nightmare. In any case, the bookstore owner is the only known source of clues. Mai sister and Kong Jing will definitely choose to find him. Regardless of other people's movements, the man with glasses muttered to himself, the second wave, then the third wave, there are 4 people in total, either the woman or the fighting freak. Although the pursuit of the doll is completely random, there are only a few options that can be selected, and it is rare to chase the same object in succession, so the more time passes, the clearer the goal becomes. There is an interval between each wave of pursuit, although this interval will become shorter and shorter. Taking advantage of this time, the man with glasses quickly inspected the first floor of the entire doll shop. In a corner filled with doll boxes, he swept them down impatiently, and then ecstatically found a closed secret door. He smiled uncontrollably and said to himself, "A group of fools, the doll shop in the narrow building has a second floor, and it must be there in the nightmare. A group of fools know how to chase, and flee. Escape, I don't even know what the point is." He opened the secret door without hesitation. In the next second, along with the stairs that emerged behind the secret door, there was a creak. It seemed to be the sound of something opening. The man with glasses subconsciously turned his head and glanced, then froze. In the showcase in the window, he saw the girl doll who had been sitting there quietly, suddenly jumped out of the window. That creak was the sound of the window door being opened. The expression of the man in glasses was suddenly blank. No, how could it be? That doll, that girl doll, in the information he obtained, there has never been any movement. No tasker has ever said that he has encountered this doll's pursuit. Isn't that just a decoration? Why did you suddenly live? The man with glasses has just been running for nearly 10 minutes. At this time, he realized that his legs were already sore and unbearable, and he couldn't even take a step. He wanted to climb directly behind the stairs leading to the second floor, but it was a pity that his fear and exhaustion made him limp directly to the ground. He could only watch the girl doll in the red dress walking towards him, and for a while, his body was stiff and cold, and the cold sweat from his forehead poured into his eyes, causing a tingling pain. He finally wanted to understand a problem. This hidden door is so obvious, and the second floor of the doll shop in the narrow building is so obvious. Why don't those who have come to this nightmare mission never send any news? This is a trap. A bait deliberately left for latecomers to explore the way. Girls playing idols have never walked the same way, walking awkwardly and crookedly. The short distance of more than 10 meters made the man in glasses feel as if he had spent his entire life, and countless kinds of tragic deaths have surfaced in his mind. The pain and despair that once died and resurrected in the nightmare once again rushed to his heart. The intense unwillingness and fear turned into a kind of anger. He clenched his fist and roared, "What do you want to do? You want to kill? Is it me? Come on!" The girl doll still walked towards him slowly, stumbling, and even lowered his head to watch the road intently. The man in glasses swallowed, his nails have been pinched into his palms, and the real pain brought a little unexpected sobriety. He still yelled, "Go away!" His voice slowly hoarse, don't come over again. No! Don't kill me! No matter how slow it goes, it is only a distance of more than 10 meters. A girl doll in a red dress stood in front of him. The face of the man with glasses was already covered with cold sweat, he was shaking, and his lips were shaking with a faint voice, "What do you want to do? No, no." The girl doll tilted its head, and the 2 dark glass beads, like real eyes, reflected the figure of the man with glasses. "Eyes," said the doll, "I want to, eyes." The spectacle man, as well as the viewers in the live broadcast room who secretly observed, a thin layer of sweat came out from behind. In Su Baijan's live broadcast room, he immediately swiped the screen and skipped countless barrages. Obviously there are only 4 spectators, but it shows a mighty force. Ah, protect your eyes and protect your eyes. The little girl looks good at her family, so she can't talk too much. I just screamed in embarrassment. Fortunately, these glasses are more exaggerated than me, ha 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 ha. Subconsciously I covered my eyes. I was crying. I didn't want to watch the live broadcast of horror games when I clicked into the game area. Then you go out. I don't even watch horror game live broadcasts, it's so beautiful, hee hee. The main reason is that the anchor hasn't spoken all the time, I'm so panicked. Right, where's the anchor? You guys quickly swipe the barrage to make me forget the doll's eyes or something. The anchor is not hanging up, right? Civilized you, me, and him. No, didn't the anchor just give us a perspective? The anchor is showing us a movie. How is it like a dumb? How long has it been since the live broadcast? The anchor didn't even say a word. Seeing the barrage in the live broadcast room calling for the anchor, Su Bei was unmoved and remained silent. The main reason is because there are people around him. Not to mention Ringo, Sister Ponytail, and Kong Jing are also discussing in low voices, seeming to be studying what should be done next. They looked at Su Bei from time to time, and Su Beijin could only maintain an unfathomable smile and sat there unmoved. With them, Su Bei naturally did not dare to speak to the audience. In addition, Su Beijin is actually a bit annoyed how to explain to the audience. The audience now regards him as a player, but he is not the kind of player in the general sense. What makes him even more embarrassed is that the mastermind does not allow their actors to reveal their identities to the outside world. The main brain will monitor the actor's performance at any time, and any words related to the role, NPC, task, etc., as long as they are subjectively suspected of revealing their identity, they will be directly muted. Although the main brain is a bit more mechanical, it is still very good at this aspect. Su Bei did not speak at all, and the audience felt bored. One viewer was even more bored and left the live broadcast room. The three viewers who were still stuck in the live broadcast room focused their attention on the man with glasses. As the audience said, the man with glasses is really embarrassing at this time. After the girl doll uttered the word eyes, he instantly felt a pain in his eyes. I don't know if it is really painful, or his own hallucinations. He was shaking all over, panting hurriedly. He was obviously a man of over 1.8 meters tall, but he shivered in front of a 50-centimeter girl doll, and he was sweating coldly. He swallowed and said dry voice, "Eyes, what do you want, what kind of eyes?" I will take you to find." He was really afraid that he was one step too late, so the doll would just say, "Give me your eyes" or something like that. The doll stopped, staring at the spectacle man with eyes like glass beads, and then tilted his head, "Okay. Take me and find it." The man in spectacles nodded repeatedly and stood up tremblingly. The doll said again, "Hurry up, if I can't find it, I will be angry." "You are angry, what will happen?" The man with glasses plucked up the courage to ask about this. The doll grinned, and the voice was as sweet as a girl, "Big Brother's eyes are also beautiful, I like them very much." Man with glasses. "No, don't like it." He looked at the doll in fear, unwilling and resentful in his eyes. He realized that he didn't need to die in a short time, so the original despair was gradually replaced by other emotions. He dared not show any resentment towards the weird doll in front of him, but he couldn't help but hate those taskers who conceal information. If he knew it, he would definitely be more cautious. Or when the doll appeared just now, he ran directly to the second floor. Now it's too late to regret, I can only take this doll to find some eyes, who knows where the other party wants the eyes. The man with glasses is irritable, and the slow and unfamiliar movements of the doll add to his impatience. He thought, what's the matter with this doll? Why is the action so slow? It's different from other dolls at all. Or is it not the normal state of this doll now? Just like those dolls who usually don't move, but move fast when they enter the state of chasing and killing. Perhaps this girl's doll needs to enter into that state, like the angry state mentioned before, to get rid of the shackles brought about by the appearance of the doll? But why is this girl doll able to act alone? The man with glasses is more cautious and uneasy. Such an unknown situation made him feel that things were out of his control. In the live broadcast room, the three viewers were also entertaining and discussing the current situation. Betting a dime, he definitely can't find any eyes. I want to know what will be on the second floor. Will there be new clues? There will definitely be new clues in the new scene. Why is the anchor still not showing up and not explaining the current situation to us? It really doesn't make sense. What is the anchor? Don't disturb me watching the show. The audience's discussion will not affect the movement of the eye man. Before heading to the second floor with the doll, the spectacle man subconsciously glanced at the storefront on the first floor and suddenly noticed something strange. After the first and second wave of hunts, there are not many dolls still in the store. This is probably the number of the third wave of hunts. Yes, why didn't the third wave of hunts start yet? He tossed around in the shop on the first floor for so long, and even dealt with this girl doll for a while. Whatever you think, the third wave of hunting should begin. There is no movement yet, because... The gaze of the man in glasses slowly settled on the girl doll who was walking around the stairs step by step, hands and feet on the floor. Is it because of the appearance of this doll? The glasses men have already noticed the strange things, and the ponytail girls and Kong Jing who are waiting for the third wave of chasing in the store have naturally noticed them. Most of the reasons they came to the bookstore were indeed to come and ask for some information, and the other part was to find Ringo. The target of the third wave of hunting was either Ponytail Girl or Ringo. In order to make sure that she knew who she was pursuing, the Ponytail Girl thought about meeting Ringo. However, they waited left and right, but they didn't even wait to chase down the dolls. Mai sister and Gang Jing looked at each other. She immediately thought of the man with glasses. The three of them are all here, and the only person who can do things is the man with glasses, and this guy firmly said before that it is useless to chase and escape. Did he find something? The Ponytail Girl frowned and made a decisive decision: go back to the doll shop. Maybe that guy found something. Gang Jing immediately followed her away. Ringo snorted boredly, stood still, and looked at Su Beijun. Boss Su, can I sit down? Su Bei said stupidly, sit down. Thanks. Then Ringo really found a chair and sat down in a daze. Su Bei looked at him suspiciously. Ringo asked lazily, why do you want to fight? No, no, Su Beijun immediately shook his head, but he still asked in confusion, why don't you go to the doll shop with them? This question seemed to activate something in Ringo's heart that he had never said before, and he looked at Su Beijun abruptly. Under the dim light of the bookstore, Su Bei dimly discovered that Ringo's pupils were not pure black, but light amber. It really doesn't match this man who shouts and screams all day long, and that baby face is also. Su Bei makes a secret in his heart. But he only dared to think about it in his heart. Under Ringo's gaze, Su Beijun immediately said, I can ask whatever you want, you don't need to care. Ringo looked at him for a long time, and laughed unclearly. He withdrew his gaze and still sat there. After a while, he said, because I am not interested. Not interested? Su Bei was puzzled. If you are not interested, why do you still have a nightmare? Escape from the sky does not force the tasker to enter the nightmare dungeon. If you intend to go to a higher floor, it is indeed necessary to enter the dungeon to challenge, but if it is really just eating and waiting to die, then the bottom floor of the narrow building is large enough to accommodate them. Su Beijun knew that some of the missionaries who had given up struggling were like walking corpses. They were more like the residents of the narrow buildings than the residents of the narrow buildings. Moreover, even though the living conditions of Zalo were indeed not very good, with Ringo's strength, he could completely make himself comfortable. Since Ringo is not interested in nightmares and can survive very well in narrow buildings, why should he enter nightmares? Although curious, Su Baijin didn't dare to provoke him anymore, so he turned his attention to the live broadcast room. The viewing angle of the live broadcast room still followed the man with glasses to the second floor of the doll shop. At the same time, Ma Yi's sister and Kong Jing have also arrived on the first floor of the doll shop. When they arrived, they saw a messy shop and a dark secret door that suddenly opened to the second floor. Walking up the second floor through the stairs, the first thing I saw was a long, dark, and opaque corridor. The walls are painted with warm brown paint, but it is a pity that they are modeled over time, adding a heaviness to it. The corners of the ceiling and the floor were full of dust and cobwebs, and the floor, which had been in disrepair, was creaking. There are 2 doors on each side of the corridor, and at the end is a hanging painting on the ground. It seems to be a doll in the painting, but the once bright colors have been covered by dust, and it has long been unclear. One of the 4 doors was open, and on the left-hand side after the man in glasses went upstairs was the bathroom. He just glanced at it, and temporarily ignored the room, because there was a foul smell in it, the smell of human intestinal feces. If he can, he doesn't want to go to the bathroom to find eyes by himself. He looked at the other 3 doors. These 3 doors did not seem to be different, and each one was tightly locked. He looked at the girl doll again, only to find that the doll's small eyes were staring straight at one of the doors. He looked over and found that it was the door directly opposite the bathroom. The man with glasses thought for a while, gritted his teeth, walked over and put his hand on the doorknob. The copper doorknob made him tremble with the cold. He moved his stiff fingers, slowly applying force, until the doorknob was pressed by him to the point that he couldn't move it. The girl doll stood quietly behind him, tilted her head and looked at him. The man in glasses had trembling lips and a chill on his back. Obviously just opened a door. Obviously just opened a door. With a violent force, he directly pushed the door open. Obviously, the weather-beaten door made an unbearable creak, but fortunately, it did not wake up the man lying inside. Yes, there is a man lying in the door. The man with glasses widened his eyes in surprise, and he glanced quickly at the situation in the room. This is a bedroom, the area is not large, it may only be 7 or 8 square meters. In a small space, there is nothing but a bed, a wardrobe, and a small table. The curtains were pulled up and the room was very dim. Just opening this door, a filthy stench filled the air. The man was lying on the bed with his back facing the man in the glasses, breathing smoothly, and seemed to have fallen asleep. Even if the man with glasses made a sound when he opened the door, he failed to wake up the man. The eye of the man in glasses patrolled the room, and suddenly, he froze abruptly. On the only small table in the bedroom, there is a book like a diary. The man with glasses is ecstatic, he has to take a step directly and get it. At this moment, the girl doll said, 5 minutes, here it is. The man with glasses froze suddenly, he turned around and said incoherently to the girl doll, no, 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 wait, just a while, I just need a little bit of time, no. No. The doll tilted his head and said aggrieved, eyes. You lied to me. You didn't find it. She took a step closer to him and at the same time raised her thin arms. The doll's arms are like that, smooth, bright, and round, like human skin, but pale. Now, that arm slowly reached into his eye socket, so the sticky blood flowed out, leaving blood marks on her skin. The girl doll raised her head, as if watching a dream she was looking forward to and fantasizing, and eagerly. But those eyes disappointed her. The eyeballs behind the glasses were protruding and widening, and the pupils were dilated, full of painful bloodshot eyes. She threw these 2 eyeballs to the ground and murmured softly, no. I don't like this anymore. Sister Ma Yi and Gang Jing just caught up to the second floor at this time. The girl doll tilted her head and looked at them. Her red dress mixed with the blood of the man with glasses. The man with spectacles covered his face, and blood flowed from his eye sockets, and flowed along his fingers. There was a giggle of pain in his mouth, but no one paid attention to him at this time. Sister Mai looked at the doll vigilantly, while Kong Jing looked back and forth between her and him. The glass beads in the girl's doll's eyes shined straight, and she whispered, 2 pairs, new eyes. It's like meeting a little girl who likes toys, innocent and brilliant. It would be great if there were not 2 eyeballs on the ground that she disliked terribly. The next moment, the nightmare restarted. On the first floor of the doll shop, the 4 taskers opened their eyes again. Ringo was still lazy and not interested in anything. And the other 3 people, as soon as they opened their eyes, looked at the display cabinet in the window, and looked at the girl doll in the red dress. The man in glasses couldn't help shaking, and felt his eyes hurt again. He subconsciously touched his eyes, confirming that the eyeballs were still in their sockets, and then he was relieved. In Escape from the Sky, the taskers do not die, or in other words, they will not die forever. After all, as long as one tasker dies, the nightmare will automatically restart, and the dead tasker will be resurrected. Sometimes this thing can be daunting. On the one hand, although it will indeed be resurrected, the pain and despair of death still remain in the hearts of the taskers. Is there really a human being used to death? That should be abnormal. On the other hand, with the death and resurrection, the nightmare will continue to restart, the difficulty will continue to rise, and it will become more and more easy to die. If you end up lost in such death, despair, and madness, you will always sink into an endless nightmare, and you will never be able to leave. There were a lot of questers. After entering the nightmare, they never came out again. They all know that these taskers did not die. They are just trapped by nightmares. Forever, trapped. Therefore, the man with glasses took off his glasses and stroked his eyes unconsciously, as if telling himself that you are alive again, this is reality. Just forget the death just now. If you keep thinking about it, maybe you will sink into such a nightmare and keep recurring your own death. Kong Jing glanced at him, mockingly said, this is not working. The man with glasses said nothing, and then he said, we need to cooperate. After dying once, he seemed to become more steadfast. He was still replaying the previous death scene in his mind, which was really annoying, but it also reminded him of some details. After his eyes were taken away by the girl's doll, in the darkness, he heard the creaking noise of the second-floor corridor floor after being stepped on, that is to say, someone came to the second floor at that time. Ringo was unlikely, so there were only Mai Miizi and Kong Jing who had returned from the bookstore. They have discovered the secret of the second floor. Then cooperation is imperative. Aside from other things, even if they didn't cooperate, the man and the woman were originally in the same group, they would still go to the second floor of the doll shop to explore. It would be better for the glasses man himself to propose. Anyway, in the end, if they jointly solve this nightmare and reach the true ending, all the taskers in the entire dungeon will go to a higher floor together, looking for the real possibility of escape, rather than a single tasker alone. Go. This also laid a good foundation for the cooperation of taskers. The man with glasses can only hate himself for being too cautious, and he did not choose to enter the dungeon alone. Now Ringo is taking care of her alone. The ponytail girl and Gang Jing hug together to keep warm, but he has to take the initiative to seek cooperation. The man with glasses clenched his fist secretly, but calmly gave out his bargaining chip. There is a man sleeping on the second floor, and there is a diary in the room. Sister Mai's eyes lit up. Just when she wanted to ask more, the first wave of dolls had slowly gathered, and then rushed towards them. Sister Mai can only say hurriedly, okay, cooperate. This is the 4th time the nightmare has started. The first and second times were given away for nothing, which made the 3 people quite resentful. The 3rd time they finally found some clues, but they didn't really get it. Now for the 4th time, the chasing of the dolls is about to gradually increase the difficulty. Time has not changed, but the speed of the dolls has become a bit faster. They could easily be thrown off by running a circle outside on the street, but now they have to speed up and pay attention to the use of roadblocks to block some of the dolls. In the first wave of hunting, the dolls chose the glasses girl. And the glasses girl ran out without saying a word. The glasses man and Kongjing stared at them with big eyes. Ringo also turned and left. No one dared to ask his whereabouts. In fact, Ringo was not interested in this nightmare, so he went to the bookstore again, trying to find Su Bei to fight. Su Beijun. He straightened his face and tried to make himself seem unkind. He said, I have already rejected it. The last time was the last time. Ringo said, now I am looking for you again. Su Beijun. But you can't bear it, and you have learned sophistry. Su Beijun rolled his eyes secretly in his heart, and then rightly refused again, I don't want to fight with you. Ringo sat down again unhappy. There was an awkward silence between the two. Su Bei was so exhausted that he could only watch the live broadcast instead of seeing the heart, watching the thrilling trip of the doll shop by the other three taskers remotely. Just now, the extremely flavorful girls' dolls cut out their eye sockets on the spot, causing a turmoil in the live broadcast room. It seems that these few viewers have not seen such a straightforward scene for a long time, and they immediately swiped the screen, panicking, making Su Bei, who was also a little uncomfortable, amused for a while. Up to now, the barrage has not stopped, and the only three viewers in the live broadcast room seem to have been chatting. Su Beijun watched them chat while watching the situation of the other taskers. Sister Mai got rid of the first wave of doll hunting. After returning to the doll shop, the few people did not waste time and went directly to the second floor of the doll shop. They discussed who would open the secret door, which may determine the goal of the girl's doll. While the man with glasses paid for the information he had obtained on the second floor when working together, the ponytail girl also reciprocated, letting the Kongjing deal with the girl's dolls. Sure enough, when Kongjing pushed open the boxes, the girl doll also walked out of her window. This beautiful and delicate-looking doll followed them, and it really shocked the three of them. But they all knew that there were still 5 minutes before the doll went mad, so they all seized the time and went to find the diary first. About 30 seconds later, Sister Mai pushed open the bedroom door on the second floor, glanced at the sleeping man with her back facing them, walked quickly to the small table and picked up the diary. The diary is about the palm of the hand, the corners are a little damaged, the cover is black, and it has a special greasy feel to the touch, which makes the ponytail girl a little disgusted. But time is running out, she has no time to think so much, with a trace of tension and anxiety, quickly flipping through this thin diary. The first sentence that came into view was, Xiao Chun has been missing for 3 days. X year X month X day Xiao Chun has been missing for 3 days. My wife said she might have, no, how could someone bear to deal with Xiao Chun? She is only 6 years old. She is going to elementary school soon, and my father bought Xiao Chun a new school bag. Xiao Chun's so happy. Xiao Chun, you will definitely come back to Dad, won't you? X year X month X day a week has passed. The notice has been posted to the next city. But no one paid any attention to us, as if the whole world didn't know Xiao Chun. My wife stayed on the phone all the time and didn't go to work. She told me again, maybe Xiao Chun is already, damn, what does she know? How could Xiao Chun, how could it be? An old customer came to buy a doll today and asked me if I have made a new one recently. How can I have that skill? Xiao Chun, Xiao Chun, Xiao Chun. My daughter. X year X month X day. My wife told me today that if this continues, the two of us may not be able to survive before we find Xiao Chun. Yet, I don't think I can live anymore. A month has passed. When Xiao Chun just disappeared, I felt that the sky was going to fall, and I would not be able to live in the next second. But now, I feel live like a walking dead. Still alive. A customer came over to customize the doll. I didn't know about Xiao-kun's disappearance. I jokingly said that I have become like a doll recently, dull and stiff, every day. I'm thinking about my daughter, my Xiao Chun. What will happen to her? Will she be afraid? Will she cry? But my Xiao Chun always loves to laugh, she is like a happy fruit, an angel. Why would anyone be malicious to her? X year X month X day my wife and I had a fight. She said, we are going to give up looking for Xiao Chun, at least, not looking like crazy like we are now. She said that if this continues, the doll shop will not open. She said, we are still young, we can still. My wife had already resigned from the company before, and she wanted to find Xiao Chun. Why has she changed her mind now? X year X month X day my wife is gone. I think she's right, I'm crazy. Doll shop, money, marriage, compared to Xiao Chun, what is it? Xiao Chun is still so small, and now I don't know where she is. Her parents, her friends, dolls, and clothes she likes are not around. She must I'm scared. If you can't find Xiao Chun, a father like me would have failed too much. Xiao Chun, Dad will find you. At all costs. Xiao Chun, don't be afraid. Dad will always love you. Dad misses you so much. Su Beijing zoomed in on the live room and looked at the diary with the audience. The ponytail girl turned faster, but it was enough for them to look around and get an overview, and Su Bei felt that the audience might be crazy about taking screenshots. Some pages in the front of the diary also have warm daily life, but after the daughter's disappearance, the diary owner's mood continued to fall. The text was full of a father's love, longing for the missing daughter, as well as despair and depression. The disappearance of the young girl was a heavy blow to the couple. The wife of the doll shop owner seems to have come out, but the father has fallen into it. According to the information Su Beijing had obtained before, after their daughter disappeared, the couple ended up in divorce. This seems to be the end of many couples who have lost their children. At this time, the audience in the live broadcast room was also discussing the news revealed in this diary. One of the viewers, who may be a reasoning enthusiast, couldn't control his brain directly. He typed a long list of news on the barrage of the live broadcast room and revealed his own analysis. What a fun game! Even the contents of the diary are so detailed. I'm sorry, I'm a little excited. Let me share my reasoning. This game obviously revolves around the disappearance of a girl. We haven't got much information yet, and the diary doesn't reveal any clues about the girl's disappearance. However, based on this kind of girl's disappearance, I have made a few suggestions. An analysis for reference. First of all, I have to consider acquaintances committing crimes. That is, the girl's parents, friends, other elders, neighbors, etc., even the girl may run away from home or get lost. The little girl is 6 years old. Children at this age already have the basic concepts of acquaintances and strangers. Parents will also consciously teach that little girls are unlikely to leave with people they don't know casually, so acquaintances commit crimes. The possibility is on the high side. Secondly, we still have to consider the possibility of abduction, kidnapping and other crimes committed by strangers. However, I still prefer the former. Because this is a game. The meaning of the game is that the planner is unlikely to casually point to an unfamiliar character that has never appeared in the game, and then tell us that he is the murderer. This will make the player feel that he has been fooled. Therefore, the murderer is most likely to be the characters who have appeared in the game. We have not fully explored the entire game scene yet, and it is not easy to say which characters will appear. However, if you jump out of the shackles of the game itself and return to our audience, then you can find a very suspicious problem. In the reasoning just now, we all ignored an X factor. That's the anchor. Su Beijing. The audience was obviously passionate and felt as if he had found a very good entry point. First of all, what is the type of this game? Although I am not sure yet, this should be a puzzle-solving and exploration game with a little action-adventure component. Then the question is, what about identity? What identity do players play in such a game? What are their activities and the purpose of the game? From the identities of the players we have been observing, they seem to be investigating the disappearance of the doll shop owner's daughter as detectives, or investigators. Besides, please be aware that this is a multiplayer game. What are the key elements of a multiplayer game? It is the opposition of positions. In other words, there must be a confrontation between players, otherwise it is fundamental no fun at all. Then let's look at another question. Why hasn't the anchor appeared until now, and there is no sound? He switched the angle of view for us before, indicating that he is online, not hanging up. In other words, he is really playing this game. Then why can't you say hello to us? It means he has a situation over there. It may even affect the progress of the whole game and directly cause spoilers to the audience. For the live broadcast, that said, spoilers are of course something to avoid. Then the question is, what's the situation? At the beginning, I didn't think about it. I have been struggling with this in the few bulletins I sent before. But now I have figured it out, or been prompted, that is the identity problem. If this game requires someone to act as the murderer? What if the anchor is the murderer? He didn't cut the camera to his direction because the missing little girl was with him, he didn't even dare to show his voice, because in the background sound, there might be the little girl crying. Although I still don't understand why the dolls chase the player, why the girl doll is looking for eyes, why the stairs to the second floor are blocked. But I can confirm one thing. The current status of the anchor is the murderer. The reasoning was as fierce as a tiger, and the audience nodded and clapped. I believe it, I really believe it. It's justified. Brother Chiang, I see the anchor shivering behind the screen. I didn't expect someone to reason everything out so early. Ha 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 ha, the two of you are too acclaimed, so I will just express my personal opinion, for reference only, for reference only. Of course, I think this possibility is very great. I agree with you. It makes sense. Otherwise, there is no way to explain why the anchor did not appear. Yes. The anchor must be the murderer who didn't run away. Su Beijun. He was in a hurry. No, brother, your major premise is wrong. Wrong premise, wrong result. But the reasoning process really looks like that. Su Beijun couldn't argue with it, because the main brain didn't allow him to reveal the identity of his actor, let alone reveal it, saying that he was the actor. According to the logic of this master of reasoning, isn't he playing the murderer even more? Su Bei was quite depressed for a while. The viewer was very confident in his reasoning. After 5 minutes arrived, the girl doll shot again, the nightmare restarted again, and after the anchor did not show up, he became more confident in this conclusion. He vowed to say, the anchor must be the murderer. Fierce fart. Su Bei responded fiercely in his heart. When he hadn't figured out how to deal with the sand sculpture audience in the live broadcast room, the door of the bookstore was suddenly pushed open, and 3 people walked in outside, namely Ponytail Girl, Gang Jing, and Ringo. Su Bei couldn't help but startled. He thought, it seems that in the 5th opening of the nightmare, the first wave of dolls chased and killed the man with glasses. The angle of view in the live broadcast room is still from the man in glasses, so it is a good thing that he was chased by a doll. Well, at least Su Beijun will not be exposed to the audience in the live broadcast room at this time. At the moment when these people walked in front of Su Beijun suddenly received some information from the mastermind. There has never been such a situation before, which surprised Su Bei. As the taskers explore the nightmare, their actors will also get more information to perform better. The only problem is that Su Beijun's own actor level is only a group performance, he shouldn't have received so much news. But he reacted immediately. These taskers should have gone directly to the doll shop owner at this time, but I am afraid that they were misled by the previous taskers, thinking that Su Beijun was the NPC who would provide information in the nightmare. They have all obtained the corresponding clues and found Su Beijun here. The main brain has to deal with it flexibly, so Su Beijun can obtain so much information at the level of a group performance. This also made Su Beijing a little excited. After all, this was the first time he truly participated in a nightmare. I used to be a group performer, either lying on the ground or decorating in the shop, not to mention how boring. Now at least a few taskers can be received, and the task progress of this group of taskers can be spied through the live broadcast. Life has improved. Su Beijing stood up while thinking so in his heart. He couldn't help showing a slight smile, and faced these taskers very friendly even if there was the annoying guy Ringo inside. With a smile, he asked, "Hello, what do you want?" Sister Mai was about to speak. She suddenly frowned, squinted her eyes and looked at Su Beijing, then changed the conversation, but asked, "Boss, have you ever been in contact with the daughter of the owner of the shop next door?" Su Beijing. No, you don't suspect him as a murderer, do you?" Su Beijing's smile gradually disappeared. Mai's sister will doubt Su Beijing, based on a very simple reason. Su Beijing didn't look like a good person. His complexion was pale, with dark circles under his eyes and deep eyes, and he always wore a half-worn white shirt. Half of the hem of the shirt was tucked in the waistband of the trousers casually, very rough. When taskers saw him, he always put his messy hair in his head, holding a glass of boiled water, his eyes calmly and indifferently watching everything outside, and occasionally yawning, suggesting that he was not getting enough sleep. What is he looking at? What was he thinking about? Why doesn't he sleep? In the narrow building, for this reason, many taskers really wanted to enter the nightmare of Su Beijing to challenge, but in the end they discovered that Su Beijing was really a monster that couldn't sleep, so he stopped. And now, Mai's sister also had doubts about Su Beijing because of his appearance, and Su Beijing's identity in this nightmare also deepened such doubts. Such a decadent and simple man in the dark bookstore lives next door to the doll shop where the owner's daughter is missing. No matter how you look at it, it looks very suspicious. Moreover, when the nightmare started for the third time, they had been here once. At that time, Su Beijing had already told them that the doll shop owner's daughter had disappeared, his wife had divorced, and so on. Why does he know so clearly? Even if you are a neighbor, you know too much, right? Now that the taskers have more information, when they come back again, why does this handsome man who is sluggish all day showing a mysterious and strange smile? In addition, the missionaries who had been to this nightmare all said that this man would provide some basic information. However, as the glasses man said, those seniors concealed the key information about the second floor of the doll shop. Could it be that the bookstore owner's information was also concealed? What's more, these few nightmares have restarted, and the boss Lino has come to the bookstore owner. Although many taskers think that Ringo is a fight madman with no IQ, the ponytail girl does not trust such a stereotype. Could Ringo found something? A series of messages connected in the heart of Mai's sister, making her suspicious of Su Beijing for the first time. If the bookstore owner gave more information in the next question and answer, then the man would be even more suspicious. And if Su Beijing learns what she thinks in her heart, he will probably scream wronged. Why does he know so much information? That was arranged for him by the mastermind. He is a group performer, you group of taskers shouldn't come to him at all. Isn't the doll shop owner lying there? Why not wake him up and talk to him? How come I want to find him Su Beijing? And Ringo came to him. What is his business for Ringo to come to him? Go ask Ringo. It is a pity that Su Beijing, who was listed as the #1 suspect target at this time, didn't know that Sister Mai had so deeply doubted him. The audience in the live broadcast room guessed that he was the murderer, because the anchor has not shown up all the time. It is indeed very doubtful. But he felt that there seemed to be no problem with his role in this nightmare. It is proceeding at a normal rhythm, no difference from the past. So sure enough, it's because of his appearance, this dress, and this scene, which makes people suspicious. Su Bei felt helpless. Although he looks very much like an evil villain, he is really a good person. How can you judge people by their appearance? All thoughts just stayed for a while. Su Beijing just paused, then replied, "No, I haven't touched that little girl." He answered honestly, but in the eyes of Sister Ma Yi, this pause made him even more suspicious. And little girl? If he hadn't contacted the boss's daughter next door, how would he know that it was a little girl? The term simple daughter can refer to a newly born baby girl, a little girl who is a few years old, and of course, it may also be a girl in her teens or 20s. This shows that the bookstore owner really knows the little girl. Of course, this only deepened Su Beijing's suspicion, and there was no direct evidence to prove that he was the murderer. Sister Ma Yi continued to ask without changing her face, "I heard that the little girl is missing. Have you found it now?" "No." Su Beijing shook his head and sighed, "The boss and the boss next door, oh, it's the former boss, they are now divorced. Alas, it's really torture for a daughter to live or die." Sister Ma Yi nodded and asked, "Doll shops are not open for business now. Is it because of this incident?" "Yes. The boss next door loves his daughter very much. The daughter has been missing for so long. He told me before that his wife didn't want to look for any more, but he still insisted that he must continue to look for, so the store opened in the end." "It won't work. His wife doesn't want to keep looking? Doesn't she love her daughter?" Su Bei hesitated for a while, and then according to the new information provided by the main brain, he said, "It's not, but that the lady boss is more strict to the little girl. I hope that the girl will become a phoenix, as if she sometimes beats the child. Hit kids." Sister Ma Yi's eyes lit up, and Gang Jing and Ringo, who had been silently listening behind her, couldn't help but look over. This is obviously the second suspicious candidate. Su Beijing nodded. "Before that little girl disappeared, I used to hear crying from next door in the middle of the night, as well as women's cursing. Then I asked the boss, he might think that the ugliness of the family should not be publicized, and only said that it was a daughter. He did something wrong and provokes his wife. Almost 2 months after the little girl disappeared, the lady boss left." The ponytail girl nodded thoughtfully. "Now there are 2 suspects, one is the bookstore owner in front of him, and the other is the little girl's mother." Sister Ma Yi asked more questions, but Su Beijing shook his head and stopped answering. He doesn't know more. Sister Ma Yi didn't think so. Her thought was that she didn't grasp the corresponding clues, so she didn't trigger more information. Thinking of this, she made a decisive decision and immediately walked to the doll shop. Gang Jing left with her, but Ringo still stayed here. When the other 2 left, Ringo opened his mouth to speak. Su Bei was the first to win the crowd, "Don't fight." Ringo glanced at him faintly and said, "I know. I just want to ask, can I sit down?" Su Beijing. He noticed a little embarrassment. "What's the matter with this Ringo? Why don't you play the card according to the routine?" Su Bei grimaced and said, "Please sit down." "Thanks." "Need not." The 2 fell silent again. Su Beijing also watched the actions of several other people remotely through the live broadcast room. Now, he is also interested in the truth and development of this nightmare. Not because he was suspected of being the murderer. At this time, the spectacle man also got rid of the first wave of doll hunting and returned to the doll shop to join Ma Yi's sister and Kong Jing. When Sister Ma Yi saw the man with glasses running back to the doll shop panting and glancing in the direction of the secret door leading to the 2nd floor, she suddenly flashed and said loudly, "No." "What?" The man with glasses slowed down, stepped forward and was about to push away the boxes, and then went to the 2nd floor to explore. Hearing the voice of the ponytail girl, he stopped temporarily, frowned and asked, "Why? We always thought that the chasing and killing of dolls is the difficulty in this nightmare, but this is not right. If it is difficult, it is impossible to get rid of those dolls so easily after more than 4 restarts." Sister Ma Yi's eyes lit up, and she felt that she had caught the mystery of this nightmare. Every nightmare has its difficulties, which can also be said to be obstacles to customs clearance. But correspondingly, since it is an obstacle, it means that such difficulties actually hint at clues to the true ending. The ponytail girl nodded to the man with glasses and said, "You were right before. In this nightmare, the pursuit of dolls is not the point. We can't find any clues through such pursuits. This is mystery. The real difficulty. It should be somewhere else." The man with glasses was startled, suddenly a little embarrassed. Kong Jing sneered and said, "Do you think he really knows something? He just beat it upright." The man in glasses glared at him. Sister Mai hurriedly finished the game. "Okay, anyway, let's go to the second floor now and see if there are any clues in the remaining rooms. This time go directly to the back 2 rooms instead of the bedroom." Gang Jing felt a little strange. "Aren't we going to wake up the store owner?" This time it's the spectacle man's turn to taunt him. "I really doubt if you can live so long in a nightmare by holding your thighs. We have not yet explored the case of the girl's disappearance. We don't even know the cause and effect. Just now. Wake up the boss, who knows if he will lie to us." "That's right." Mai sister agrees with him very much. "In the early stage, I focused on collecting information, and I can't completely trust these NPCs. 2 to 1, Kong Jing can only, good, I listen to you." However, he secretly slandered in his heart, "Why do you all believe what the owner of the bookstore next door said?" They reached a consensus, and they proceeded to the second floor of the doll shop. This time it was the man in glasses who pushed open the boxes that blocked the secret door. In fact, when he stretched out his hand, there was still a little trembling, because he once again remembered the feeling of death before. But in the narrow building, everything can be seen, except for the real death. Everyone can't really die, they can only struggle and perish in this chaotic, crazy narrow building and nightmare. Some people continue to work hard to clear customs in nightmares, not even to escape from birth, but to real death. The man with glasses took a deep breath, no longer thinking about the ones that were missing. The girl doll jumped out of the window again and walked quietly to his side. He glanced at the doll strangely, wondering why she didn't say that she wanted eyes this time. But Mai's sister is already urging, after all, time is running out, so he hurriedly followed. The girl doll followed behind, using both hands and feet, slowly climbing the stairs. She thought aggrievedly, "Hate it, this time it was the eyes that didn't like her." There were only 3 people, and she didn't like the eyes of 2 people. But that big sister didn't take her to find. Humph, then she would ignore her. The girl dolls grievedly followed behind them. It's a pity that no one can see her mental activity from her stiff face. The 3 of them had a clear goal and went straight to the 2 unopened doors behind them. After hesitating for a while, Sister Mai directly chose the right one, which was the door next to the bedroom. After pushing away, she was pleasantly surprised to find that this was a suite with a bedroom and a study, and on the desk, there were several opened letters. The 3 of them walked into the room and quickly searched everywhere. Before, in the bedroom next door, only Mai's sister went in alone, because there was still a man sleeping in the room, and they were afraid of waking that man up. But this time, they didn't have so much scruples, and they were directly responsible for an area, exploring quickly. Sister Mai went straight to the desk and picked up the letters on the desk. There were 3 letters in total. She flipped through the address and name written on the envelope, scanned the content of the letter, etc., and then realized that this was a correspondence between the doll shop owner and his friend. Sister Mai scanned the first letter roughly, which was written to him by a friend of the doll shop owner. The content was to ask about the current situation, and also asked if the missing daughter has been found. There is no important information in the letter, most of which are words of comfort, greetings, and hope. So she went straight to read the second letter. The second letter is a reply from the owner of the doll shop to a friend. At the time of writing this letter, it has been a long time since the little girl disappeared, and the couple were also divorced. Thank you, old friend. I was busy looking for Xiao Chun recently, and I can't take care of anything, so I wrote back so late. Xiao Chun, I don't know if I can get it back. This may be the case. The child will leave his parents one day, but Xiao Chun is like this. This may be the punishment from God. Xiao Chun disappeared in the shop. I made a doll upstairs, your sister-in-law went to work, and Xiao Chun played at home by herself. When I recovered, Xiao Chun was gone. The police gave me an investigation report. They called the nearby surveillance, and couldn't find Xiao Chun. But you know, there are many people coming and going on this street, and there are many places that the surveillance can't take. Xiao Chun. Is it purely lost by yourself or by others? There is no saying at all. Further surveillance, they are still investigating slowly. There is no news yet. No way, the workload of this surveillance is too much, and the police are also busy. Your sister-in-law and I go outside to look for it every day. We searched it all over, and there was no sign of it. You said, how can there be such a thing? How can there be such a missing thing for no reason? How can there be such a thing? Your sister-in-law said, Xiao Chun might already, she doesn't want to look for it anymore. She thinks that even if she does it, she will only find a corpse. I quarreled with her, and then we divorced. I didn't agree with her. I disagree. Xiao Chun can't die. I'm very angry. I know she has always disliked Xiao Chun, no. Not that she didn't. She was jealous of Xiao Chun, she was jealous. She was jealous that I paid too much attention to Xiao Chun. When Xiao Chun was just born, she felt that way. She always complained that I didn't care about her, that she was out of shape to give birth to Xiao Chun, said that the stretch marks on her belly were ugly, and that because of the birth of Xiao Chun, her menstrual period was irregular. Now, there are more and more spots on the face. Look, I still remember her complaints at the time. It was terribly many. Because of this, Xiao Chun didn't get close to her, and asked me if my mother didn't like her. She always loses her temper at Xiao Chun, scaring Xiao Chun to hide from me. Xiao Chun likes to read, she said that Xiao Chun is too weak, so she should go out and exercise more. Xiao Chun likes dolls, she said Xiao Chun is too quiet to make friends in the future. I remember these things. I know she is for Xiao Kun's good. But now Xiao Chun is missing. Xiao Chun is our daughter. It's my daughter and her daughter. Now that my daughter is missing, she says she doesn't want to find it anymore. I was so angry that I was shaking all over and I wanted to slap her. Will there be such a mother? Sometimes I wonder if it's because of her attitude towards Xiao Chun that Xiao Chun can't stand it, so she ran away. It's possible, isn't it? Xiao Chun is 6 years old and she is already sensible. She will not leave with strangers casually. She might, maybe it's because that woman was too cruel to her, so she left. She left this home. I'm sorry, I'm so excited. Xiao Chun has been missing for more than 2 months, and I sometimes think in my mind that she might really, even if a child like her really ran away from home by herself, can she live outside? If so? She was abducted, what would those people do to her? I dare not think about it anymore. If possible, please also ask you to help me find some clues on your side. Maybe I can find some clues. I have already tried everything. After reading this letter, Sister Mai subconsciously let out a long sigh of relief. There was also discussion in the live broadcast room at this time. This lady boss doesn't look like a good person. It's hard to say that some mystery novels deliberately put this kind of interference option that looks like a villain but is decent. Daughter is missing. Well, although I don't have a daughter, but thinking about it, I feel that a little girl who is so small, so cute, and so behaved, now she has nowhere to go. It's really uncomfortable. Not only do you have no daughter, you don't even have a girlfriend. Why do we personally attack? At this time you should go back. I don't have a girlfriend, do you have a boyfriend? Damn, this big reasoning guy, it's hard to dismantle it. The three viewers in the live broadcast room had already become acquainted with each other and began to gag, and the ponytail girl also looked at the third letter. This letter is a reply from a friend to the owner of the doll shop. In this letter, the friend not only mentioned the disappearance of the little girl, but also mentioned the marriage problem of the doll shop owner. The wording in the letter also implies a rather subtle attitude and position. No problem, I'm already looking for Xiao Chun. I found some friends, distributed flyers in the city, and also posted missing persons notices on the internet. Wait for the news slowly. I'm so big, it's impossible for nothing to disappear. There is one more thing I have to tell you. You and my sister-in-law, you have been in love for so many years, you should be very clear that your sister-in-law's temper is right. She is really angry and impulsive, and Xiao Chun always makes her angry. Mother, the relationship between the two women is tense. So, you think she doesn't like Xiao Chun and doesn't want to find Xiao Chun? It is indeed possible. I have also thought about it in this direction. But just divorced like this? Well, you are also impulsive. You and your sister-in-law have been in love for more than 10 years. Don't you know what kind of person she is? You know her, and she also knows you. The more you think about it, the more angry she is, and the more she will go against you. Besides, since Xiao Chun was born, you two have been ignoring your sister-in-law. You are either a doll shop or Xiao Chun all day long. The business in your shop is not good, and you rely on your sister-in-law to support the family. Both housework and work are busy. Oh, don't people feel angry or angry? Of course, the sister-in-law is really wrong in this matter. If she really doesn't want to find Xiao Chun, then this wife is not enough. Tiger poison still doesn't eat children. But Lao Ping, you really have a good communication with your sister-in-law. Is it? Your divorce is really too impulsive. I'll stop talking about my sister-in-law. After all, it depends on your own thoughts. I don't get too involved with your housework. Also, I know you are very regretful about Xiao Kun's disappearance. But at this point, Xiao Chun will not want you to be decadent. I must continue to look for it, but you are in this state, how can you continue to look for it? After reading this letter, Sister Ma Yi frowned slightly. She glanced at the wastebasket on the ground and found that there were several pieces of letter paper that had been crumpled up inside. She knelt down, unfolded several of them and took a look, and found that it was indeed a reply letter that the doll shop owner wanted to write. She repeatedly wrote but did not know where to start. Finally, this reply was put on hold for a long time. Sister Ma Yi threw the paper ball back, stood up, and pondered for a moment. Not just her, Su Beijing, who also read the content of the letter at this time, was also thinking. Is the boss really hitting her daughter? The suspects in Ma Yi's heart are Su Beijing and the boss's wife, but Su Beijing knows his family affairs, he must be innocent, and only the one who has never been seen is left. It is said that he has a bad temper and has a bad relationship with his daughter. Good lady boss. Judging from the diaries and letters of the doll shop owner, the proprietress is indeed suspicious. After giving birth to the child, he rushed between home and work. The husband didn't care about himself. He might be depressed after childbirth, and then beat his child harshly. Or, according to the speculation of the doll shop owner, it may be that Xiao Chun ran away from home by himself. But judging from the friend's reply, things don't seem to be that simple. Although the wording is still relatively euphemistic, his position is obviously on the side of the proprietress. In the letter, he secretly accused the doll shop owner of ignoring his wife, and even after his daughter disappeared, he was jealous of his wife in the direction of the wicked. Before I saw the shop owner and the proprietress, it was really justified. Sister Ma Yi obviously thought the same way. She thought about it for a moment, and then stopped thinking about it. She greeted the gangster and the man with glasses, and wanted to take the last of the 5 minutes and go to the opposite room to have a look. The spectacle man and Kong Jing didn't find anything in this suite. This room can be described in 3 words: dirty and messy. The room is full of all kinds of domestic garbage, leftover takeaways, beverage cans, rotting plants, etc. The sheets on the bed are dirty to moldy. In all kinds of scenes, one can imagine how decadent and depressed this doll shop owner was after the disappearance of his daughter. Seriously, it's no wonder the proprietress loses her temper. The man with glasses didn't want to go to the bathroom to search, but unfortunately he is in this room now. It is still equivalent to searching for a garbage dump. Sister Mai stopped the search work of these 2 people, which really made them breathe a sigh of relief. Sister Mai quickly talked to them about her discovery, while walking out. When the 3 people left here and wanted to take a look at the opposite room, suddenly, the door of the small bedroom on the 2nd floor creaked and was pulled open from the inside. The man who had been asleep was awake, stretched out, slowly coming out of the bedroom. He collided with 3 taskers. He looked at the strangers who appeared in his home in doubt and horror, and was shocked for a moment. Who are you? Why did you break into my house? The scene seemed very embarrassing for a while. It was the ponytail sister who was the first to react. She had an idea and immediately said, "We are here to investigate the case of your daughter's disappearance." We shouted downstairs for a long time without hearing a response, so we went upstairs to find someone. I'm sorry. The face of the doll shop owner visibly softened, and he asked, "That's it? I just slept, maybe I didn't hear it." He couldn't help showing an expression of expectation. Then, have you investigated anything? The name of the doll shop owner is Wu Shen, and he should be in his early 30s, but looking at him now so tired and depressed, and that he is in his 40s, I am afraid that some people will believe it. Sister Mai smiled, "That's right, we just come to talk to you. We have collected some clues, but want to ask you some more information." Really? Wu Shen couldn't help asking, "What clues did you find?" Sister Mai said frankly, "In this way, let's talk slowly." Okay, okay. Wu Shen nodded nervously, "Then you come with me." Wu Shen obviously attached great importance to the news from Mai's sister. He didn't know that the crowd on the opposite side came to empty the glove white wolf. He took the ponytail girl into the study. This room barely has the attributes of meeting guests. As soon as she stepped into the room, the ponytail girl felt a little bit in her heart. They rummaged in this room just now and messed up some decorations, books, and so on, and the position of the letters on the desk changed. Fortunately, Wu Shen's attention was not focused on the location of those items at all at this time, which made the Mai girl breathe a sigh of relief. After they entered, Gang Jing was about to keep up, but found that the man with glasses had been staring at the corridor and couldn't help asking, "What are you looking at?" The man in glasses glanced at him and sneered, "Did you find something wrong?" Kong Jing frowned, "What's wrong is not right, can't you just say it? Is it interesting to ask? Then I just don't know, hey." After speaking, he directly followed the 2 to the living room. The man in glasses couldn't help rolling his eyes, and then stared at the corridor for a while. He has been paying attention to the time. It should have been more than 5 minutes by this time, so when Mai's sister and Wu Shen were dealing with Wu Shen, his eyes were wandering back and forth in the corridor, trying to find the girl doll. But I don't know when that doll disappeared. Even if the time has passed 5 minutes, she didn't see her come to kill herself. The man with glasses was confused and disturbed. Before entering this nightmare, he was full of confidence, thinking that he had information that none of the other taskers knew. But now, he felt that things had been out of his control. On the 2nd floor of the doll shop, behind this seemingly unremarkable venue, there seems to be some frightening secret hidden. He was in a trance for a moment, then took a deep breath, turned and walked into the study. At the moment he turned around, a little figure in a red dress poked his head out of the stairs at the end of the corridor, and his eyes made of glass beads stared at his back. The spectacle man didn't notice, but the angle of view in the live broadcast room has been following him, but the audience from God's angle including Su Beijing can see clearly. Suddenly, the live broadcast room was swiped by the barrage. Su Beijing was also taken aback, and suddenly raised his head, subconsciously trying to look away from the live broadcast room. But this live broadcast room followed his sight, and he couldn't move it even if he wanted to. On the contrary, it caused too much movement, which attracted the attention of Ringo next to him. Ringo was sitting there in a daze, but Su Bei reacted so much that he recovered his senses and asked a little puzzled, "What's wrong with you?" Su Bei smiled awkwardly, "No, nothing." Ringo squinted his eyes, "Although I don't know what you were thinking, but my instinct tells me that when you say nothing, there must be something." "Really nothing?" Ringo glanced at him, and the expression in that look meant, "You make up again." Su Beijing. He gave up. He wanted to hide his thoughts, but Ringo was a very intuitive person. In fact, the people in the narrow building were right. Ringo's IQ might not be particularly high. However, his intuition is very keen, and with his super strong force value, at least in Escape from the Sky, he is already unstoppable. Meaning, he restrained Su Bei from doing this kind of wrong-mouthed and unfamiliar person. Just like the rest of the taskers felt that Su Bei was unfathomable and might be a big villain, but Ringo didn't take it seriously, and even had a fight with Su Bei enthusiastically. Of course, this may also be because he has the strength value as confidence. Su Bei couldn't help thinking, why is there such an incredible value of force in the narrow building? Some taskers wondered why a monster like Su Beijing could not sleep in the narrow building. And the appearance of a monster like Ringo with an extremely high force value, isn't it a very strange thing? Su Bei couldn't help but lose his mind for a moment, his eyes darkened unconsciously. After a while, he recovered, and once again focused on the dialogue between the taskers and Wu Shen in the live broadcast room. Said to talk to Wu Shen about the clues of the investigation, but after the conversation really started, it was Ma Yi's sister who started to ask questions first. "I want to confirm with you first. When your daughter was missing, you made a doll on the second floor, and you ex-wife, at work?" Wu Shen could only restrain his urgency and replied, "Yes. I spend the afternoon making dolls in the studio on the second floor. It was the same before. On weekdays, my ex-wife has to go to work, so Xiao Chun is always playing alone in the shop. She is very good and will not run around." Sister Ma Yi nodded. In this way, the remaining room on the second floor that has not been visited is Wu Shen's studio. In this way, the pattern of the entire doll shop is very clear. This is a small two-story building with a storefront on the first floor. There should be another bathroom and kitchen, but they have been covered up by piles of boxes, dolls, and a mess of garbage. The second floor is the main family area, with bathroom, bedroom, study, and studio. Wait, there seems to be one missing children's room. Sister Ma Yi hesitated, then glanced at this room. This suite, in terms of area, should be the former master bedroom? And the smaller room next door is Xiao Kun's room? After Xiao Chun left, the father in front of him slept in his daughter's room. It can be said to see things and think about people, but how does it sound a bit perverted? Sister Ma Yi sneered secretly, and then continued to ask, "Since this is the case, is there no surveillance installed in your store?" Wu Shen showed an embarrassed expression. He said, "The surveillance, broken. It has been broken for a long time. Because surveillance has never been used before, so after it broke, he didn't repair it." He said, he was annoyed. "It's all me, alas, it's all me. Don't blame yourself, I believe Xiao Chun would not want you to be like this." Wu Shen was in a trance. It seems that after his daughter's disappearance, his mental state is not particularly good. Whether from his previous diary or the letters between him and his friends, it can be seen that his sky seems to have fallen. Suddenly, he covered his face and started crying. He called Xiao-kun's name, his voice was hoarse, and he curled up in grief. The ponytail girl patiently waited for him to return to calm. After a long time, Wu Shen wiped his tears and said hoarsely, "Sorry. After Xiao Chun disappeared, my emotions were always out of control." He lowered his head, concealing his red eyes. "Perhaps, this is true. It's the punishment God gave me." "If you say that, why would God punish you? You haven't done anything wrong." "No, I did something wrong." Wu Shen raised his head suddenly and stared. "I did something wrong." Sister Ma Yi was taken aback by his bloodshot eyes. She subconsciously asked, "What did you do wrong?" Wu Shen gritted his teeth and said, "I shouldn't marry that woman. If I don't marry that woman, Xiao Chun won't, nor." Kong Jing subconsciously said, "If you don't get married, Xiao Chun won't be born." Wu Shen froze abruptly, his neck twisted in his direction little by little, and he looked at Kong Jing with a terrifying expression. Kong Jing was cold behind his back, thinking that this man was really crazy because of his daughter's disappearance. It was really sad. His wife killed Xiao Chun, or Xiao Chun ran away from home because of her mother's violence. This is just Wu Shen's guess. And this man was incompetent and furious here, and blamed his daughter's disappearance on his wife. After all, on the day Xiao Chun disappeared, he was in the doll shop. It was his fault that he did not favor Xiao Chun. There was a deadlock between the few people for a while. After a while, Wu Shen stood up abruptly, pointed to the door and said, "Get out." Sister Ma Yi was taken aback. "Mr. Wu, we get out." Wu Shen's eyes widened with a grim expression and blue veins burst out in his neck. "I will let you get out. How can you find Xiao Chun for people like you?" This crazy father swept out the three taskers. Until they were kicked out, the expressions of the three of them were still dazed. Kong Jing said awkwardly, "No. No, how could this be the case? After all, it was him who made the bargain, that's why Wu Shen finally broke out. But anyway, this attitude was too abnormal. Is the conflict between this man and his wife really serious enough?" The ponytail girl thoughtfully said, "He has something wrong with his emotions." "I doubt." Gang Jing asked, "What?" The glasses man snorted, "Isn't that obvious enough? This father who loves his daughter so much is also one of the suspects." "So is he." Kong Jing was really taken aback. "I thought it was just like him, whoever hurts Xiao Chun will kill someone. What can he do to Xiao Chun?" Sister Ma Yi reminded, "Don't forget, one piece of information we have now is that on the day Xiao Chun disappeared, she lived with Wu Shen under the same roof. Although everyone else is because Wu Shen is Xiao-kun's father. And his suspicion is ruled out, but can't he be the thief calling out to catch the thief?" Kong Jing said dazedly, it seems reasonable." The man in glasses glanced at him, and asked the Ma Yi girl a little speechlessly, "Why are you teaming up with this guy? The other person is stupid and obedient." Kong Jing glared at him. Sister Ma Yi didn't bother to pay attention to the bickering between the two men, and whispered, "Bookstore owner, doll shop owner, proprietress, who would start with Xiao Chun?" Su Beijing also listened intently. Although he felt a headache when he heard the ponytail girl put him and the couple together, but for the development and truth of this nightmare, to be honest, he is very curious now. Listening to the discussion, watching the live broadcast. Suddenly, Su Beijing felt that something was wrong. Where are these three people going? Why does it seem to be walking towards his bookstore? Will he be broadcast live? Isn't it necessary to deal with the audience in the live broadcast room? Then his identity as the owner of the bookstore next door makes people feel that he is the murderer even more? Su Bei couldn't help panicking, and subconsciously wanted to switch the perspective of the live broadcast room. However, it was too late. The next second, the man with glasses stepped into the bookstore. The audience in the live broadcast room also saw the man sitting behind the bookstore counter.